Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Tara, you've got a different picture. There's two Taras.
No, I don't know why it says that. That's Liz Lalamia.
Oh, Liz, how do you change? I think you can change your name.
That's not my name.
No, but I think you can change the name on your.
I think I just figured out how it happened because last week there were 4 different Debbies, and I was kind of like joking with her that there were 4 different Debbies, and I sent, because I knew Liz was registered, I sent her the link. So I think that's how you got my name. However, if you do go in your box, if you go up to the little, there's 3 little dots up top in the picture.
Oh, if you hover your mouse over the picture.
Then there's a spot where you can go to rename and rename yourself.
Well, I'm on an iPad and I'm not sure that works.
Let's see if we can do it.
You might be able to.
Yes, I can. Okay, but that's Cassie. Let's cancel. All right, so I can do it. All right, Liz, how do you spell your last name?
L-A-L.
Uh-huh.
U-M as in Mary, I-A.
Great. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. I'm glad I learned how to do that.
I also like to not have double myself, although the thought of multiplying is hilarious. You'd be like, that's voice dialogue. Liz, you can join me. We could be like 2 Taras. That would have been funny.
I wouldn't mind going incognito to other groups.
Somewhere there's a drop-down menu that allows you to change the number of people that you can see on the screen.
Yes, you can do that by going, see where your video camera is on the bottom left?
Yes.
Video. See the arrow to the right of it?
Yeah.
If you click on that arrow.
Yeah.
And you choose video settings.
Okay.
There's a thing that says at the very bottom, display up to 49 participants per screen in gallery view.
At the very bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
See at the very, so there's something that says right underneath your picture, camera, my video, meetings.
Yes.
Under meetings, the very last one.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
In my case, it's not highlighted, so I can't.
Yeah, okay. Some computers aren't powerful enough for it. Mine isn't either, so you'll never have that option.
Oh, Charlotte.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me either.
I wonder if it's, let's see.
So did somebody ask you, John, yet about your beard? I mean, so I'm going to ask.
Well,
it's what prompted. I think it looks great.
Well, thank you. I just decided it was time to come off. It's time to take it off. I mean, I had it for a number of years, and every once in a while I grow a beard and then I take it off. I do have a story about it. The first time I had a really very bushy beard, and I shaved it off at about 11 o'clock at night and came to bed. I lay down, and my wife looked at me and she said, when my husband comes home, you're going to have to leave.
Oh. Is this number 3 or 4 of this series?
3.
3.
Okay.
Cassie and Tara, I barely recognize you.
I see you've returned from your trip to Scandinavia.
I have it right here. Not far away at all. Ready to put on.
I woke up today with the realization that we'd be on our way to Tahiti.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not metaphorically, actually.
No, for real. It's kind of sad.
Saying if you were all packed. Ask if you were all packed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gotten any sleep last night, Tara knows.
Yep. I've been talking to her at 2 a.m. What are you doing? Still packing? Okay.
Yeah, just put a laundry load in.
Oh, it's so sad. Hi, Carol. So let's see. We should wait 2 more minutes. I would give it till 5 after.
Hi, Margot. Long time no see.
Carole at the sea, good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Shilpa.
Good morning.
I love that we meet during the day. This is so much better than night, personally.
A little
I'm
early.
awake.
Except for the fact that you're backlit and we can't see your face.
Oh, I
Carol.
can change that. No problem. That's easy.
It looks like Debbie Rickson has changed her stripes.
I was thinking the same thing.
Sure wish you had said something sooner. No
Oh,
problem.
sorry.
I don't think Debbie Rickson knows why you said that.
Hey, guy with the Michigan shirt. Your name is Debbie Rickson.
Okay, so
You,
Andy,
yeah, you, Andy.
What did I do?
can you change your name by just clicking,
What happened?
go to your picture? I think it has to do with sending the link. You know, sometimes. So, yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Or we
every
can
week
all
I
turn ourselves
struggle.
into Debbie Rickson.
It could all be Debbie Rick.
Every week I struggle to find which Zoom link am I supposed to be in today at this moment, and I did go through the Facebook group and it made me Debbie Rickson. So clearly, that's one of the ways.
Yeah. Okay. Well, easy enough to change. Ooh, this is nice. I get to look outside. You get to look at the basement.
We get to see a view of your Tahoe home.
My little home away from home. Lots and lots of cords underneath the table. Okay. All right, like this better?
Yeah.
Great. So I just wanted to say, for those of you who haven't been with us very long, this the Voice Dialogue series was just set up as practice, and anyone, very informal, anyone who wants to join can. I realize that some of you have no idea what voice dialogue is, but I think, you know, you're getting, to some degree, you're getting an experience of it, and you're getting a chance to see it done with other people, which I also think is valuable. I never intended this as a voice dialogue training or a facilitator brush up. It's just whoever wants to practice, show up, will practice. I don't see this as anything formal at all. So, you know, if you really need a lot of time to sort of get into the energy, meditate before you come, because I'm not going to do a lot of meditation while we're on the phone. I just see this as down and dirty practice. And I love that you're getting to practice with each other. And we didn't see this as a formal, we'll set up groups and the practice groups should, you know, last for X number of weeks and do the following X, Y, or Z. It's so let's get together and let's work kind of thing. If there's interest in voice dialogue facilitation, what would you call it? Like revisiting it, relearning how to do it if it's been a long time, because I can tell for some of you it's been a long time. Or some of you haven't had the training. I'm happy to offer that at some point, you know, as a much more formal class with curriculum and with real specific practice. If you haven't done voice dialogue or had the training and you'd like to be introduced to it and really learn it and learn all about where it comes from, how, you know, how the voices develop, and about how facilitation works, not necessarily trained to facilitate. I'm also happy to do a voice dialogue class sometime in the future, but all of that takes curriculum and structure, and this was just offered as, let's get together, right? So if you're lost, don't worry about it. Just enjoy the practice and let me know if you are wanting something more formal. If you're really lost but very compelled and love this but feel really out of sync with it, you can do a session with me and I can introduce you more formally to it. Does that help? Okay, all right, just wanted to set some context. That said, our last session is next week. I'm open to continuing if there's, at least during May, if there's a lot of interest, but I'm also happy to fold this into, you know, we do Monday and Friday night, which is really open, it's open workshop for anything. So you could also come to that and say, I want to do some voice dialogue. So next week, I'll spend a little time with you finding out what it is you want relative to this practice, and then we can go from there. Okay. All right, any questions or comments? Great. All right, so let's take a minute, close our eyes. Just settling into our heart center. With each inhale, breathe in well-being. With each exhale, offering peace. Each inhale, drinking in well-being each exhale, offering peace, settling even more deeply into that good, solid heart center. And imagine reaching out or extending your energy to everyone on this call. As we do so, we form a connection between us, the whole group woven together in a single purpose to explore the many voices within us and to develop the aware ego, an awareness, a presence that isn't any of these voices. And just getting a sense of just what's up in you. Doesn't have to be in the context of voices. Just if this were a coaching call, what you'd want to explore today, or what's happening today, this week, that's on your mind or in your heart. And opening your eyes, and if you have something you'd like to explore, you can just use the chat function to just say, I have something. You don't have to say what it is. You can just say, you can volunteer yourself. So we see the list of people who are wanting to work. Okay, Shibla. Who's going to appear as Lauren Tolk on the screen?
I'm signed on in 2 places.
Yeah, I see that. Is it possible for you, is one a phone?
One's a phone.
Yeah, can you close one out or no? Because when we go into groups, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Shibla, what would you like to work? Tell me what's going on.
Well, I've been exploring what it is that stops me from more just I don't know if I can call it expression, but it's more like letting what's inside myself out, what's outside myself in more fluidly, and especially when it comes to my work, like my writing, my teaching, all of that, like just what stops me from putting myself just out there. And some of it I kind of explored, like there were voices that popped up when I was practicing and so on with people, but I'm still not, I still feel like there's something unexplored there, I guess, or that I need to deepen into, something
Well,
like that.
tell us more. So tell us, if you can, specifically, what do you do for a living? I think I don't really know. And some examples of when and how that block or that lack of flow comes up, and how you experience it. Like, get specific.
Sure. Well, a couple of things. First of all, I'm a writer, and I take it really seriously. And there's something about both the revelation and the act of when I'm actually bringing projects to fruition, the idea of putting them out there, finding people to collaborate with and put things out there, that's very, there's just like a block there. Not with everything. With my poetic projects, there's a lot that is out there, and I'm working with people, but with books, things like that. And then I'm also an educator, and I teach, well, I've taught multiple subjects, and I've taught yoga, and right now especially, because everything, I've been working for myself, and since I can't see students physically anymore, I'm down to just one student. A lot of funding was pulled from, like I was teaching yoga to disenfranchised youth, and funding was pulled from that program. And so right now I'm like, well, I'd love to start like even just doing classes online, and like even offering a donation class for people, but then also doing classes with people to try building my work again. And there's something that's really intimidating about putting just all of it, like something about putting myself out there, and something about that, yeah, just it's similar to, yeah.
So here's the thing. I know you must have spent a lot of time looking at this, because you have sort of the idea of, you have the concept of there's, I'm blocked, or there's something about putting it out there, but I want to know what really goes on in you, meaning you're about to look for poetic partners or writing projects or something, and then what does it sound, what do you do behaviorally? What does it sound like inside your head? What goes on?
Sure. I mean, just somatically, it can feel like either constriction, like in my throat, or just almost like my solar plexus. And I feel like I just jump forward into like, this is what I'll do, to like pulling in like self-doubt, to this is what I'll do, to like, just, it's like that. I don't know how to, I almost don't know how to explain it in words.
Good. I don't need the words. So you feel kind of like your solar plexus are tight, or your body just wants to hold back. You froze. Oh. Shilpa, you froze.
Yeah, it's almost like a half sentence, like starting to write in a half sentence, and then I stop. Like if it comes to something like putting something out there. Yeah.
And what about the voice, and what voices have you explored?
Sure. I explored, first of all, just around voice and what it was when I was really young that kind of cut me off, or that my voice was cut off. And I've explored, like last time there were two kind of parts. Like one was, the kind of shut down, much younger, in relation to how people were treating me in my environment, like at school when I was little. And the other part of it was kind of like a teen, like one that felt very free in expression, but was also very young. And I'm really curious about, and I mean, maybe that's just, maybe it's just more of that. But it's, yeah, I'm curious about the part that wants to, be more free. And also about the parts that stop that, or that feel somehow threatened, and learning how to work more with that, I guess.
Great. So I'll tell you what I'm thinking. A few things. One is, yes, does everything have roots in childhood? To some degree. I understand the psychological viewpoint and go with it, really believe it, and work with it. I also feel strongly that we can't chalk up everything. Oh, we can't chalk up everything to childhood. If we had to, we'd never go anywhere. We'd never heal. It would just be the revisiting of what, to some degree, we already know. So when I'm working with one-on-one clients, we're not revisiting the childhood. Doesn't mean we don't go to childhood material, but we're certainly going to shadow material, to really, truly unknown material, which is very often outside of the purview completely of the story that the ego has. But that's still all the childhood stuff. Then there's the archetypal imperatives, which is we all have access to a whole array of archetypes that we haven't, one could say we haven't spent that much time in, right? So we don't, or they're not natural in our bodies. So we can often miss the resource we have. And we also have current, in terms of voice dialogue, the current voices are very, very important because they're the ones that are sort of functioning vitally right now. So my tendency with you, because you've gone into the historical voices and nothing's really moving, is to say, let's play somewhere else, right? And there's something you said that really got sort of stuck in my mind when you were talking. You said, I take my writing very seriously. I take my work very seriously. And that was probably the first thing you announced. So I'm gonna assume that that's an important aspect of this. And of this dynamic that we're looking at. And, you know, I wonder, I just kind of wonder about that. I know with my work that when I'm taking it, when it has a lot of weight, when I'm taking it really seriously, that can be when I have the least creativity, and I often don't know how my work ultimately is going to evolve, like move through a population or a collective. And so, yeah, so I mean, I'm thinking about, I would wonder about almost the fool or the lightness of being, or the part of you that writes because it loves to create, right? And I think I'd be curious about those two. What do you think?
Sure. I can maybe add that I feel access to the part that is really light and fluid around the art, and the part that I guess I feel like I don't take seriously enough, or what it is I don't take seriously, is actually finding paths to readers, and to let that part be easy or not blocked or something like that. And that makes me feel like if I'm doing it, but I'm not actually, you know, having it go full circle, then somehow I'm not taking it seriously. I think that's what comes up.
And have you made a living writing, or is this something you're just trying to break into?
Kind of both. I mean, I haven't, like with poetry, you can't really make a living. I have like one book that was published by a press as like a finalist for a contest. And I am basically sometimes I collaborate with others or do readings or things like that. But when it comes to my other kinds of writing, like if it's like writing fiction, things like that, that's something that I think that I am more emergent, like I'm breaking in more. And I don't know, basically, like just, what?
What's your vision for your writing? Like, do you care a lot if it gets published?
It's one of the things that I do in the world. And that doesn't mean it's the only thing that I do in the world, but it is something that I've always known that I'm meant to do in the world. And so my vision for my writing is that, yeah, it actually gets out to people and starts to build something, or to, you know, be like something that people can interact around, and something that is, yeah, that's interesting with the taken seriously that you brought that up. So I guess it's something that I would like people to take seriously, not in a way that it's not in a heavy way, but like that it's recognized that it's read.
Why?
Why? I feel like my just myself as a storyteller. I have a lot that I've both experienced, like a lot of places where I've grown up, a lot of experiences that have been really either challenging or wonderful, and also just my imagination. I feel like I can contribute something that, and to different, you know, especially young people, but all people as well, that is fairly unique and that needs to be out there more, because I just don't see it a lot of the time. And I find it important because I know that it can be, like, I think the stories that like shaping imagination, or just like mythical consciousness, like I feel it's really important. Like it's an important place to, for me to be able to access, for other people to be able to access and to work there. And
why?
Please, why? I'm just gonna name that there's some sense I have that I'm not like, somehow I'm not like getting deeply enough into all of this or something like that, and I'm just gonna set that aside. Why?
Yeah, I haven't, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, what I'm hearing is you're answering.
Yeah.
Is that, well, what are you hearing as you're answering?
What am I hearing as I'm answering? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm answering from a more analytical place, like, and so I guess, what I'm wondering, like, where to access, like, because there are many different parts of myself that could answer, right? Like,
well, but if I look at it, if I listen to you, the push or the energy is much more on you loving to create, you as you loving to be in the mythical realms, you expressing and having something that wants to emerge. I'm not hearing much strength in the why it has to be read.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to keep poking at this. I mean, in essence, voice dialogue as a thing usually goes part and parcel with coaching, or goes part and parcel with, you know, therapy originally. And is an amazingly powerful self function, right? To be able to parse out the parts of self and hear who's there. But, you know, I don't want to rush into, I find myself not wanting to rush into your concept of what's going on in yourself. I'm wanting to find out what else is there. And
Yeah.
some of what I'm really curious about is where the actual thrust is. I mean, when I started Pathways, for example, I was compelled to, there was just no question that I had to work with groups. Nothing would have stopped me because that's where the libido was and that's where the drive was. And I'm trying to really understand actually where your imagination is coming from, that you have to have it seen and read. Because I also trust the psyche, and I trust that if you've had you have this push-pull of you want to do something and then you pull back. And I'm just going to go to Jungian, sorry, I know that this is voice dialogue, but I'm going to go to Jungian theory for a moment. And those of you who are in mystery school, this will be a good sort of, I think, underpinning support, especially the graduates. You know, when there's an unresolvable conflict, which it sounds like you've been having this push-pull for a while, you know, so grads, this is straight in the transcendent function, right? And the undergrads that are about to start reading that book, that tension's necessary. It's being expressed through something. So if we were to somehow help Shilpa get through this, because we have a desire with her to get her stuff out there, the push-pull would show up somewhere else. It would, if she went full out to do something, then the push would come back from the readers, right? Or the publishers or the co-creators. If the psyche's doing that, then there's something wanted in that push-pull, not to resolve it, but to be truly understood. So I almost, you know, I find myself not wanting to try and use voice dialogue to help you resolve this. I find myself wanting to really understand what the push-pull is, not as a problem, but as a very important state of being. Do you have this push-pull everywhere in your life, or mostly with this?
Not everywhere. I think that there's something around being witnessed by the unknown that definitely brings it up more. And
what does that mean to you, witnessed by the unknown?
Well, it means actual physical people, but it means I don't know, so it's hard. So okay, because I could give reasons or analysis, but I think if I'm just looking
or feeling,
yeah, I think that there's a fear of
that's analysis.
Yeah, that's true.
So take a breath, right? And just feel into the tension of I want to be seen and I don't want to be seen.
It's a sense that there's no place, like there's no place for me. Like like I have something to offer and there's not a place there, or like
That's an
other
analysis.
people don't take it seriously.
That's an analysis. And that happened as fast as it could. So what I'm watching in this exchange is I'm watching your mind come in as fast as it can, just as I even invite you to go towards the tension. So that tells me there's a tremendous amount of something in that tension at the level of feeling. So we don't have to understand. That's not the goal right now. My hope is that you'll just take a moment and close your eyes and breathe and let your energy move from your head into your body. And just feel this unbearable, unresolvable. I want to get out there. I want to express and be seen, and I don't. But not as a concept, as a physicality in your body of wanting, not wanting, opening, defending, and feel both and see what happens. See if a gesture comes, an emotion emerges. If your body wants to move, let it. Maybe a memory or just an unknown thought, right? Or insight, anything, a sound. And trust your body. See what your body wants to do. We don't have to be able to see you. And stay with that tension of wanting, not wanting, offering, pulling back. Feeling for what wants to be known. We're just keeping your eyes closed. We're just going to explore through voice dialogue. I don't know what's going to happen. But if you could move somewhere where this tension can speak, not the resolution of it, but the tension.
Keeping my eyes closed, you said?
Well, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. And move as deeply as you can into that unresolvable space. That space from which there's no resolution, there's no way out. And I have no idea if you have words, if you have voice, or if you are just sound and motion. But be here as fully as you're here, and know that we're here if you wish to express or speak. she's doing this, I would invite all of you to just be kind of aware that we all have this place that is, or from time to time, we have something that is absolutely unresolvable. And it's that tension, that crucifixion, it's what it feels like, that crucifixion that is actually the transformative function. It's inside that, not in the resolution. It will resolve if we can start to approach that tension, and this is shadow work, right? Keep unlayering and uncovering what lives in that.
Should I talk?
If you have words.
Not from the place that's really deep.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So just take another moment or two to feel into the crucifixion. This is a place that you'll want to be able to revisit, not to change, but to explore. And then when you've touched it, come back to where we started. And this is important, equally important, is to feel the separation, because not all of you feels this. But this is core. This is very, very core. And very deep, right? This is like the entry to the well, right? Of shadow work and the unknown. So she's not going to know immediately. She might have some senses of what lives in here, or the feeling state that's in here. And I do want to say to everybody, the thoughts, all of the psychological, conceptual thoughts that Shilpa, but all of you have. I mean, I know most of you, right, very well. All of the thoughts we have about something that feels so unresolvable is actually the psyche's smokescreen that takes us away from kind of falling in that well. And so, you know, you can spend endless hours in therapy and coaching and in workshops, taking your conceptual idea of what's going on in you, and you're dealing with it's like the shiny object that was developed a long time ago over here, so you didn't go in to the place where the actual transformation happens. So, all right, Shilpa, tell us about that sense, feeling, experience, that place.
It was basically, it was really contracted, like really wanting to be, you know, like, and somehow simultaneously both wanting to go inward, like really hold tightly, you know, hold my breath, all of it. And also feeling really trapped, like both of those things. And that there's a deep pain there, but then towards the end, also anger. It's like anger and not being recognized is really interesting. It's like both trapped and then also, lots of like really deep pain.
Yeah,
It didn't really have words.
Yeah, it won't. Yeah. All I want to say to you is right now, I mean, because this is, you've brought something very weighty, right? I mean, this is not a little, oh, I'd like to create a plan for the next, 6 months for how I'm going to get my writing up there, right? So I if whether, if I was working with you, even if I'm not, like, what I know is that if you could start to take the point of view, not that you want to resolve this. I mean, truly, if it's going to resolve, because these, the core of our complex does want to resolve. And it wants to resolve by, I mean, the natural function, and I might be telling you what you already know, but what our psyche does is it continues to set up the same conundrum, if you will, over and over and over again, right? In the hope that it'll have a different ending, but it can't have a different ending by trying to resolve the conundrum. It has a different ending as we explore and get curious about the conundrum. And I don't mean psychologically and logically. So I'm going to hope that what you can do is stop trying to interpret this, i.e., why do I feel like this? Where does this come from? What events happened in childhood? Don't. Because that won't take you anywhere right now. In fact, it takes you away. So I'm gonna, but what I would do is open to the question, what is my psyche wanting me to feel and experience? Right? And that's an unknown, right? And here's what I think. I think the parts of you that, my sense of you is that your greatest excess, although you're crazy intelligent, you seem crazy smart, that's not your best, right? I think my sense of you is that your best way to work is in your imagination, and in your feeling state, but in your imagination, not your interpretation, which is perfect for analytic work, right? Because you have to trust that your psyche wants to resolve this, but it doesn't want to resolve it the way your mind can even imagine, right? It wants to resolve it through you playing with, to begin with, this unbearable tension. And if you were to set aside a little bit of time each week, or several times a week even, to say, I just want to explore this and see where it goes. And when you're exploring, it's like when you want to go into the darkness and see what emerges is really different. Like if you're going into a cave to see what's there, it's really different than if your mind's going into a cave to reaffirm what it knows, or the mind's you're going into a cave and the mind starts to direct where you go, right? So play and see, and art or movement, like there is this movement of I can't, whatever the I want to and I can't, or the movement towards and away, whatever that tension is that doesn't resolve, that's a pattern, and there's a movement to it. And when you go into the feeling like you had when you moved over into the tension, into that, and you could feel how deep it goes, that's the exploration. And you have to trust where it leads you. And even trust if it takes you into a writing or wherever it takes you. And memories might come, good. A memory isn't the answer, interestingly. The memories are think of them as an energetic opening. And when you have a memory, it'll lead you, like, let's say you know, some of the memories you talked about in the beginning, where you have a memory of not being seen or heard or whatever, and that memory will bring a feeling. The feeling will bring the next image if you let yourself explore it, not necessarily the next memory, but the next imagination. So your ability to float in your imagination is what's going to heal you. Right? And if I had to guess, and this isn't an answer, but it is my intuition from the time you were talking is, if I had to guess, this function that you're really good at of imagination and feeling and sensing is perhaps it needs right now to be the agency of your own healing, as opposed to your imagination that if you got seen out there, you'd be healed. Because it is interesting, it doesn't really work that way, right? I mean, it does and it doesn't, right? Like when I first started teaching, I'm certain now that the incredible drive that I had to be seen, to be heard, right, was all about having no inner witness. And so the drive is really different right now. But ultimately, it wasn't being seen by others and witnessing others. It was tuning my ability to do that. But the healing didn't happen out there, it happened in here. And that's slower one-on-one. It's sort of like the same conundrum that happens, right, when some rock star, right? If you want to be a rock star and then you become a rock star and it was really unconsciously, you needed the attention and the adoration and the love because you were without it so much in here. Did they end up feeling adored and loved by the crowd? Maybe for a second, but what are they spending the rest of their time doing? Anybody know?
Feeling unworthy.
I mean, from the crowd. They want the crowd's adoration. Now they're getting all that adoration through the press and through the crowd. What do they spend their time doing?
Drugs.
Well, drugs are, but mostly hiding from, right? They're not having a personal relationship, right? So they don't end up necessarily, they don't end up getting healed by the thing they thought would heal them. It's still a problem. It has to happen in here. So anything else you want to say before we end?
Not necessarily. The only thing I could think of when you were talking about rock stars getting adoration from fans is that sounds terrifying.
I don't even think, I think you don't have a clue yet what you want to do with your writing, what it's for, any of that stuff. I think that's an idea you have that has served the purpose to bring you back into this tension that wants to be felt. And that's where I'd start. And I would trust that the writing and the creation is going to take care of itself. Right? If we really go to the core aspects, and I don't mean the childhood memories, but the core aspects that are moving through us, transformation happens. And I just want to say, for everybody else on the phone that's in mystery school, grads or undergrads, the transcendent function, right? It is this book, while it's might be hard to read, or it's so important because it underscores this. It talks about how this happens, and it explains how to do it. Right? So it's really get on with that reading. Right? Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to go back to the group and just check in. From this piece of work, not necessarily vis-a-vis voice dialogue, but any questions, any insights, anything you relate to for yourself? Let's sort of just debrief this before we move right on.
Thank you, Shilpa. Really powerful and really relevant, and I so appreciate it. Thank you.
I mean, I would second that. I think for me, there was definitely something powerful in the 1,000 times I hear about holding the tension of the opposites, in being able to experience that a little bit more internally. Like there was like I can't really explain it, but there's like an aha where I get that the importance of holding that tension.
Yeah, or you're bouncing back and forth between those polarities. That's it, right? And on the trajectory, right, we're going, here's the I want to, I don't want to, let's say, or the, the saint sinner, or whatever the tension is, extrovert, introvert, we end up with, if we go far enough over here, this one really takes over. We go far enough over here, this one. So often we're bouncing back and forth between them. So it feels like there's resolution for a while, right? Whenever we're over towards one side enough, oh good, there's resolution for a second, right? And worse, we're making all kinds of decisions from one side or the other that then cause, the revolution to get bigger and bigger. But this is what Christianity's talking about when it's talking about the crucifixion. We have to learn to be nailed to the cross emotionally and energetically, and allow the suffering of those two, not the suffering is that we can't let go of either, we can't move towards either. That's the suffering. And if we can't resolve it, and we can feel the suffering and the tension of that which can't be resolved, the third force emerges, which is the new birth, right? The two essentially it's like sperm and egg. They finally can infuse each other enough that a whole new consciousness gets born that we couldn't have thought of, because it isn't of one side or the other. And all our mind can do is our logos can just track both, but it can't create the new function. So that's when either we see a natural change, or we have a whole new idea, or we just have a completely different relationship to it. Yeah. And what else from this before we move on?
Thank you so much, Shilpa. I have lived and continue to live that same tension. And so it was really helpful, extremely helpful to see it and experience it outside of myself in a way that, and thank you, Carole, for a whole new lens on how to look at it, because it's, and I think actually your last point about how it's shifting and changing, given so many years of that being part of my tension, I don't feel it in the same way as I used to. I am starting to see that I'm not transformed per se, but I'm starting to feel that sense of, I don't have that, it's not that same pain. I can get there, I can find it, but I don't have it day in and day out in the same way. So thanks for having a conscious conversation about it. It's been helpful.
And I want to say this isn't about everything we're caught between. I mean, most things we do have to make a rational decision, right? We do have to make, all right, do I do this or do I do this? Or, what's the best option? How do I have some of both, right? That kind of negotiation view. Okay, well, I'll have some of whatever. This is really for those poor, when a situation is absolutely unresolvable. You have tried, you have worked on it, you can't move from it, you can't see a way out.
I think your internet is a little frozen. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that.
What? Hello? Can you hear
Carole,
me?
I think yes, now we can. You are freezing a little.
All right. It doesn't show that I'm having internet connection problems, but if you can hear me, it's okay if you don't see me. If you don't hear me, tell me that on the chat. So, because I won't be able to hear you saying anything if you don't hear me, possibly. So it isn't for those, or kind of ordinary things, but it's really for those times when, you know what, you can't find your way out of it and you've tried. Okay. All right, so let's see who else said they wanted to work. I'm taking it in order. Priscilla.
Hi.
Hi.
To be honest, I'm soaking in a lot of the work that was just done, and I think I'll pass if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Christine.
First of all, thank you. And I don't
Hey,
know
Christiane.
Thank you. Oh, I'm muted.
Christiane, hold on.
Yes.
I'm not sure we'll be able to work with you because when you take yourself off mute, we have so much background noise, we have so much interference.
Can I call in and keep my face on?
Yeah, why don't you try that?
Okay.
All right. While she's doing that, what else is happening out there?
Well, from Shilpa's piece of work, it really resonated with me. I'm having these feelings of, as far as the pandemic is concerned, about really wanting to stay safe, not just to protect me, but to protect my partner, but also not caring about staying safe and having a reaction against all these people who take these tremendous precautions about disinfecting their groceries when they get them home. And a part of me just goes, who cares about that? You just have to stay home, and who cares? And I think, exploring that, it gets down to deeper issues.
I'm sure.
Yeah, much deeper issues like wanting to be alive and not caring about being alive, those kind of issues. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm working with these days.
All right. So Christiane, did you turn off your the sound on your computer? Oh, much better. And can we hear you, Christiane? No. All right. So Christiane, it's not working. I don't think you've called in, or we're not seeing you on the phone line. So I'm going to go to Eben. Do you want to work with that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
All right. When you did the voice dialogue piece quite a while ago with this in week 1, did you talk to the voice? What voices did you talk with?
I talked with, excuse me. I actually I didn't end up in the practice session. I didn't end up working with these voices. I worked with a couple of other voices. A voice that that really wants to be out there and social and is feeling frustrated that can't be with people these days. And then I worked with a voice that just wanted to be still, didn't want to do anything.
Okay.
And yeah, sort of, you know, on the in the spectrum, but not really there.
Okay. All right. So if you're not muted, please mute. If you're on a phone, please make sure the phone is muted or turned off, one or the other. All right. And Eben, going to ask you to, let's just do a voice dialogue session. All right, Eben, centering. We're gonna do this sort of quickly. Check in with your controller, make whatever agreements you need to make with your controller before we begin.
Okay.
Okay, and now, I would love to talk to the voice that wants to die. You've certainly been present in these weeks. Love to hear from you.
There's so much to do. There's so much striving. There's so much effort. What's it for? What's it for? It'd be so great to just stop. It's too much to do. There's too much. It's overwhelming.
You know, I heard you a couple of weeks ago when Eben talked about you, but and I really get that, but my sense is that you also have some kind of fascination, or you've been attuned to death since Eben was really little, or I mean, there's something juicy within this.
Yeah, I know. Eben used to imagine death when he was a kid.
Yeah.
But that's not. I don't think that's me. I think I'm a little older than that. I think I'm.
Yeah, you seem like an old man that's just done.
Yeah. I mean, when you're become an adult and you move out in the world, you have to live, and living is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I don't see what you really get for it. It's just constant output, constant work, constant. It never stops. It's unending. It's overwhelming.
Yeah, well, I definitely hear that you're the part that's ready to die. But that seems different than a part that wants to die and has always wanted to die. So.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think that's true.
Yeah.
I just want it to stop.
Yeah, you want to stop. You want to rest.
Yeah, yeah.
The big long rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can totally relate. Totally. Good. And moving back to aware ego. Leaving the part that's just tired and done and has no interest in output or striving to the side. Know that that's there. And we may or may not get a chance to talk to it, but get a sense if there's a part, and this part's much more active, has much more energy, part that has always been fascinated with death or wants to die or just has a yearning for that mystery.
What happens? Where does it go? Where does it all go?
I know.
It's amazing to think about, but there's no answer. There's no way to find out.
No.
But it's the great question. It's the big transition. It's the what is it? What is it?
Yeah. Have you always been curious about what can't be seen?
I think so. I think Evan always has been. I think, as I mentioned before, when he was young, he would imagine death, and then he would panic and come out of it. But
yeah,
what is it? You know, everything that we know stops. What's beyond that? What's going on?
Yeah. I'm curious. I mean, are you only fascinated with death and the afterlife, or are you the part of Eben that takes him into the mysteries?
Oh, I think I'm interested in all the unknown, all the unseeable.
Yeah.
What's out there? How do we access it? How can we find out? I mean, where do we go? What do we do? I mean, there are things out there, and how do we find them? You know, I think I was part of getting Eben into consciousness work when he had his divorce and realized the life that he had planned out, the plan didn't work, and he had no idea why.
Yeah.
Why did it happen? What was going on? Yeah. So,
I remember seeing you at mystery school. Yeah, you have a lot of vitality and curiosity. Does Eben have any outlet for you these days?
No, not really. Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, he reads a lot. He reads a lot of interesting things, but it's all at a distance, at a remove. You know, he's not really going after anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's something that tries to tamp this down. You know, there's something that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and you know, I think Eben sort of watered it all down to the psychology of being done rather than being immensely attuned to the mysteries and ritual and the unfolding of what can't be seen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one thing that comes to mind is Eben calls himself an atheist and says he's not religious, but he still feels a real pull to to the rituals of the Jewish tradition and the lighting of the candles and all that stuff. And he still does it all, but you know, he says it's just tradition.
Got it. Oh, well, really take a minute to be here and to feel your being, your body, which may be very, very different than Eben's, and the ancient, present, future nature that you are. You must just need to remember you. Good. And moving back to where you go. And from there, Eben sensing on the one side, the one that just, life is a lot of work, and for what? That kind of natural process of aging. And yet, we didn't spend a lot of time with that. I also suspect a slightly depressed, a result also of sort of low-level ongoing depression, perhaps. And feel it separate. It's a separate voice. And on the other side, your priest, priestess, shaman, shamaness, your mystery scholar, your temple keeper that's been with you since you were born and is a part of the imperative of your life and part of the life thrust, and feel both sides and how little room or time there's been for the priest, rabbi, for the mystical self. And I suspect they're related. All right, and just a quick, what I want to say about that is that the hope of aging and the hope of the last part of life certainly is that some of the push, if it's possible, some of the push can wear off. And the whole point of the last part of life is, I love this, right? The Joseph Campbell statement, the goal of the last part of life is to die. And he doesn't mean like this guy who just wants to give up, but it's the, to really let the spiritual, mystical, whether it's religious or not, side begin, truly to flower. That's what should take the precedence. And this voice, the mystical voice, has plenty of energy. I do, I do think that it's, if whatever's unlived of our life, we have to live it right before we die, to some degree. And, I think for everyone, look, we tell ourselves rationally, although it doesn't make any sense, we say, we view workshops and things like we view school. So we say, well, but I did that, so I must be done, right? Or I took that course or whatever. And, it's certainly what the grads are running into often in mystery school. Whether we are deeply embedded in a church or a temple, and that is our connection to the mystical life, although many churches and temples aren't. Many churches and temples are in essence, sort of connected to New Age psychology and community around that. But, you know, I just, I can't imagine, you know, it just to do an ordinary life and expect an ordinary life, the day-to-day life, to fulfill all aspects of us is really putting a whole lot of demand. You know, that can work if our work is really meaningful. That can work in the beginning of a relationship for a while, or that can work in the child raising years that are so, you know, demanding. But, you know, sooner or later, I think for most of us who are seekers, you know, not, the whole world isn't that, but, you know, for those of us that are seekers, we have to honor that part of us that does yearn for the mysteries and to live them, to engage in them, to be in ritual with them. It's not just about reading, right? It's important. And I see a lot of people when we're just pushing back, if we're pushing back a part of us that's very big, depression's on the other side of that. So, and just the other thing I want to say is I think this is a good example of, you know, we don't have to go to the childhood, right? This is an archetypal imperative that can't, you know, when you first talked about this in the first week, Eben, you said, you know, it's related to childhood stuff, you know, and you knew this part of yourself in childhood, but this is not a psychological child issue. This is an archetypal issue, right? And living from, you know, am I cutting in and out for everybody else too? No, Christiane, I just think you don't have a good connection. Christiane, get a better internet connection. Okay. All right. So I do want to put you in practice groups if you want to be in a practice group. Before we do that, is there anybody who has anything they'd like to say from this? Or Eben, anything you'd like to say first?
Well, it's not, I don't have any, I don't have any words right now, but after that session, I know I have a feeling of there's this tingling throughout my body that is just going on. Yeah. And and I might want to explore that feeling.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want, I mean, that can just be energy coming back in. I mean, I think it's so important. You know, look, I don't care how amazing one's work is. If you've done it for your whole life, you've lived it, right? That part has had the chance to fulfill. And then there are other parts that need a chance to fulfill. That's what our last part of our lives are about. Right?
Well, and it's funny because my whole life, my job, my recreation and my job has been solving puzzles, looking for the mystery, you know? Yes. I'm a programmer. I'm looking for how to solve something, or where's the bug, what's wrong? I mean, it's all been the same thing.
Yeah, and it isn't, because I think that this part of you is looking for the temple. That's different than the Jewish temple or the Christian temple. It's looking for the unseen spiritual and mystical practices. And, you know, you got to see what calls you and where you go. And all right.
And I just want to say how visually Eben changed. I mean, it just from from
yeah.
the tired guy to the curious, and his whole expression, the facial, his eyes brightened up. I mean, it was quite extraordinary, I thought. Thank you for that.
All right, so I want to move on to forming these groups. Andy, I think, wants to be in a group. He had to drop off. Do we imagine Joanna wants to be in a group? Do we know? Okay, Joanna is going to want to be in a group. And who else had to leave that wants to be in a group? Do we know?
Sarah Jane.
Sarah, okay.
Christina
All right.
left, but I don't know if she wants to group.
Who did?
Christina had to leave, but I don't know if she wants to.
I don't know, let's stick her in a group and see what happens. All right, so now I don't have Debbie here to be helping, so I'm gonna just believe that breakout groups are gonna work. So if anybody else does not want to be in a group, this would be a time to hop off the call now.
Are we doing these right now, or are we going to be in a group after the call?
Okay, what's going to happen is I'm going to put you in groups so you'll see who's in your group. And then we'll end the call.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I'm assuming everybody who is on now is, okay, so Shilpa, can you get rid of the phone that you have going? Is that possible? Okay.
Will we be coming back after we've been in groups?
Only for 20 seconds. So just wait. Okay. Okay. I'm going to do 7 groups. Some of these groups will have 1 participant and some will have 2, and then we'll add the rest of these people in. Okay, so I'm going to create breakout groups right now. Oh, I can just tell you these from here. This is great. All right, so we have a group of Eben and Heather. We have a group of John Stevens and Ree King. We have a group of Kristan and Lauren. We have a group of Alvina and Liz. A group of Beth and John Love. A group of Charlotte Payne and Margot Kimball. So I'm going to put, oh, and we have 1 group of Dory class. Okay, so Dory, I'm gonna give you Andy in your group, okay? Okay, and then I'm going to do, in Beth S. and John Love's group, going to put Joanna. In Alvina and Liz's group, going to put Sarah. And who is this? Oh, Lauren. In so the Kristan Dean and Lauren Tolk group is really Kristan. Let's have that be Kristan and Lauren Tolk. And then I'm gonna Shilpa, I'm gonna put you with Eben and Heather. And then with Alvina and Liz, I'm gonna put Christina.
You already put Sarah with Alvina and Liz.
Oh, I did? Okay, good. All right, so then I need, oh, John Stevens and Ree King. I'm gonna put Christina with you. Okay, so you'll want to tell these people who they're, that they're with you. And then do you need to go into breakout rooms now to get each other's phone numbers, or can you do it on Facebook? Facebook, good. Okay, so good. All right, so let's, God, that was easier. Okay. All right, closing our eyes. Sending love to everyone who worked. And to the whole group. And opening our eyes, seeing each other for a moment, and then releasing our circle. Bye.
Thank you, Carole.
Bye. Hope I
I'll
see you
find you,
tonight.
Shilpa and Eben. I'll find you on Facebook.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.